Welcome, everyone, to TJ and the Grumpy Old Man, the sports podcast where we shoot the shit and have a good time. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is the Grumpy Old Man. They say there is no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grump, how are you, my friend?
Splendid. Yourself?
Oh,
Thursday night?
yeah, it's a wonderful Thursday night, and man, oh man, is there a lot of sports news to cover today. I feel like I say that every single podcast.
You do. I don't know why you do. You just do.
But before we get too hot and heavy into the details, remember, this is a sports podcast we do every single Thursday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every single Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, best way is by subscribing on YouTube, following on Twitter, and liking on Facebook. That being said, Grumpy, I want to start off with a hot button topic and story of the hour. Seems to be dividing. There's nobody who's riding the fence on this one. Jon Gruden he has resigned due to some emails that were found ranging from 10 plus years ago to most recently up in 2018 from a private email that was discovered via the probe and investigation into the Washington football team. So Jon Gruden has stepped down, Grumpy Old Man. Initial thoughts?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, right? The NFL has been investigating the Washington Football Club, formerly the Redskins. And I just found it interesting that the only person who gets exposed is Jon Gruden. What are they trying to cover up? First of all, they don't say anything about what's going on with the sexual misconduct allegations with the Washington Football Club.
Yep.
I just wondered why they leak that to the media.
Well, this is the overarching thing that we've worried about, and I've wondered about, because Jon Gruden, I think, he's a situation where, again, should not have said what he said in those emails. And again, I understand it, right? Private emails. I understand the reason why. Okay, people could be upset with that, but he shouldn't have said what he said. I think maybe there were more emails too. Maybe that's the reason why he stepped down. Also, maybe there were other worse emails he had sent, because it was odd, right? They were slowly trickling out. It makes me wonder, number one, who is the source that's leaking these?
It's the NFL.
That's always, I wonder, like, where is the prime target for this? Who is leaking these? Because I believe there's something bigger underneath that, right? We've popped the zit on the surface, but I think there's a deeper issue underneath. We've just gotten a little bit of the scab off, but it makes me wonder what else is involved with this, because you're right. There's 650,000 emails. You got Derek Carr here saying, right, they should expose everybody's private emails on this. I want to see what's going on.
That's the problem I have, is exposing private emails. Is that where we are now? And I'm not saying, here's the thing. You say what you say, you got to pay the price. But man, oh man, now you're releasing private citizens' emails. I have a problem with that. I really do. I have a problem with that. I just think it's wrong. Here's the thing. I'm not condoning what he did. He's got to take responsibility for his actions. It is what it is. But what I find really hypocritical, besides the NFL, which obviously, don't tell me that some of these owners, Daniel Snyder, Jerry Jones, who knows how many, have the same thoughts.
Or are
don't tell me that.
Similar things, right? They look at this, and there was a slew of different things that Jon Gruden kind of got popped for, right? They talk about the racial tropes they threw out there. Talk about the misogyny, about the female referees, about them passing around photos of topless Washington football, or think of it was at the time period the Washington Redskins cheerleaders, items like that. There is no way out of the 650,000 emails that, number one, they were able to just magically find these from Jon Gruden without finding a lot of other deeper items. And I think you're right. Who released these is always the big section,
it's
right?
The NFL.
If it's the NFL, I firmly believe the NFL always wants to cover literally anything and everything up. That is exactly what they want to do. If they can avoid showing something that negatively shines a light on them, they're going to do anything in their right power to do so. Just go back to the Ray Rice situation. They originally, when they found out about that video, weren't going, hey, we're giving him a 1-game suspension. And once the video got released, it seemed that they definitely misjudged that one. I think the NFL wants to do anything and everything in their power to avoid any type of negative publicity.
Yeah, that's without a doubt. Now, I mean, I read some of the things he said, and I know people who've said things like that. And you were in a locker room, college locker room. It seems like that's a lot of locker room talk.
There is, okay, those certain things that were locker room talk.
Yeah, certain things.
Certain things were not locker room talks. Certain things he had in the email were locker room talks. Other things were not. I mean, we never made fun of like people and players' lip sizes and stuff like that. And we never, again, like there's certain things we didn't do. I'm not saying it probably has never happened. I'm just saying, like, as like Horsful playing around, like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that that could be considered locker room talk. That being said, again, you make those comments and it's always looked at through today's lens, right? And this is the issue I've always had, like with the cancel culture that we've had. Number one, it assumes that people could never grow from this. I have no idea. I don't know Jon Gruden from a hole in the wall. He could be the exact same personality and have the exact same opinions that he had when he made these statements, which again, that is not correct in today's society. That being said, he could have also grown from these too. He could have he could have had some sort of reckoning where like, man, oh man, again, I don't know Jon Gruden at all. Right. He could have had a situation where he said, now that I look back on it and recollect on these a little bit, that was wrong of me. And again, we have no earthly idea, right? He said he was an angry guy at that time period. We're not going to hear too much about that. But I think the bigger story behind all of this, I think the NFL was leaking these because, hey, it came out in dribs and drabs. And
they waited. Here's what I think happened. They released the first one. They wanted the Raiders to get rid of him. Okay? They didn't do it because they didn't want to get rid of him. So then they released some more.
So the Raiders didn't want to get rid of him because the Raiders were doing well, right? You think about this. They don't want to get rid of the person who's doing well in the front office. Oh, he's doing well this season. Let's go ahead and keep with what's working. We want to win football games.
And I think that if he hadn't resigned or been forced to resign, they would have released more emails.
Oh, yeah.
The problem I have is there's so many they cover up. The NFL's the biggest cover-up artists in the world. They really are. Whatever they can do to protect their own butts, to keep that cash coming in, because that's all they care about is the money, nothing else. But the biggest thing I have a problem with is you see some former players that didn't get along with Gruden, and I'm going to name Keyshawn Johnson, right? He comes out and shreds Jon Gruden, which, okay, all I know is those who live in glass houses should not throw rocks. Keyshawn Johnson has never been the most model citizen. Let's be honest. And I just find it so hypocritical. It's so easy to pile on, right? It's real easy. But you know what? If everyone else's personal emails are exposed, I bet there's some things that some of these people who are attacking Jon Gruden for would not be happy with the results of their email.
They would like to keep a lot of this under wraps. I guarantee you it's not just Jon Gruden who's got emails like this. And just like Derek Carr said, again, like I understand, hey, we want to keep private emails private. But if we're going to release something like Jon Gruden's emails, I want to see all the dirty crap that's there, because I freaking promise you it was not just 3 or 4 or 5 emails all happen to be by Jon Gruden and no other spicy emails or no other racist, misogynist, whatever, no other controversial emails have been sent, because I promise you there have been. Now this right here I believe was perpetrated by the NFL. I want to see what else is in these emails, but we're not going to be given that information, because here we go. Here we found some items here in our emails. We're going to go ahead and sacrifice Jon Gruden, but we're not going to go ahead and actually show everything else that happened.
Okay.
Because I know there are other things that happened.
Okay. I'm just going to say that the people in positions of power like that, they feel they're above the law. And I always find it interesting that none of them ever get called out. None of the owners ever gets called out.
Yep.
Ever. Okay, they might have a couple things happen, but certainly not by the NFL. They protect their own. And I just feel it was to just throw Jon Gruden under the bus. As far as I'm concerned, you might as if you're going to leak that, and they certainly did leak it. They're going to deny it, but they're lying. They're flat out lying. I think you just release everybody. I don't care who cares what it says about Daniel Snyder or Bruce Allen or whatever. The thing I hate is when the cancel culture says, well, nobody responded to Jon Gruden. They should have said something to stop him because that's what would have been the right thing to do. Oh, yo. Stopping. How far do you want to take it? I mean, you know what? This man's paid the ultimate price. And like I said, I'm going to bring up one more piece of hypocrisy. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my beloved the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Because you're a big Tom Brady fan.
Out of their Ring of Honor.
Because you're a big Tom Brady fan. That's why you call him that.
That's right. Kicked, because otherwise I could care less about Tampa Bay. Kicked Jon Gruden out of the Ring of Honor. And I find that really hypocritical on their part. You have a team, and I believe in second chances, Antonio Brown, who's had numerous run-ons with the law, numerous sexual misconduct allegations. You have Richard Sherman, who the last time we saw him was trying to beat his house in and beat his wife. And then you have
arrested for domestic violence, and right. And you got Warren Sapp there too.
Warren Sapp, who he was fired from the NFL Network.
He was convicted for domestic battery against a former girlfriend in 2015.
And prostitution issues as well. And he lost that job. Why is he still in your Ring of Honor? If you want to be consistent, he should be out too. I just find the hypocrisy rampant. Here's the thing. It's easy for them to say that about Jon Gruden. It makes them look better. That's all these teams care about is how they look and keep that money coming.
All public image and how much money they can make. Because again, you see a lot of that. Certain things always go by. We've always talked about Joe Mixon. We've always talked about Tyreek Hill. The list goes on and on. If you can play football, doesn't matter how many. Think about it. Deshaun Watson has 21 different cases alleged against him by the NFL. He's still good to play if they wanted him to.
Think about that.
I'm a big believer in innocent until proven guilty, but I'm saying there could be potential fire to that smoke. That being said, these emails, I feel like there is deeper seated issues and there's deeper seated concerns behind these emails. I 100% believe that. I'm hoping. Again, like I know you say, where are we now that we're releasing private emails? I get that. But now that we've released Jon Gruden's, I want to see everything else. Maybe I'm curious. I want to see everything else because I do believe you're right. People that are owners, people at the very tippity top think the law and that the rules do not apply to them. And I'd be very interested to see what they think of them. It reminds me of, what was it? Was it Reagan or Nixon who originally came out and they caught a video of him cursing? And it was, oh my God, a president was doing that. It was huge news at the time period. I feel like that is what the realization people would come to once they see what these owners are really saying, because they always have this little glossy image. Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, we're trying to help out in the community. We're trying to do this. But in reality, they could be scum just like everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, no one in this world is perfect. No one. Not even the grumpy old man. No one is perfect. I know hard for you to believe, TJ. I see your stunned silence when I said that.
I know. I am.
But it's the truth, right? I said the hypocrisy of leaving Warren Sapp in there. He had to plead down his charges. But, I mean, he lost his job at NFL Network. But somehow he's still up there. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. He committed an actual crime. So, I mean, Jon Gruden, like I said, I'm not saying Jon Gruden should have said what he said, but I mean, a crime was committed, numerous crimes. And we just kind of brush those under the rug. I just find it interesting. I just find it hypocritical. That's all. If you're good, I just wish everyone was held to the same standard. That's all.
Alexander say, good evening, guys. Just sitting here watching us chase the Hurricanes. Jon Gruden is a piece of garbage. First couple of minutes in the third period, they look like absolute garbage. Alexander also saying his agent said he used to call the Buccaneers general manager at 3 a.m. to get players. And also there was a story that he had his kids at the Buccaneers practice facility and said that it was his kid's birthday. And his agent asked him which one. And he said, the one in the middle. Didn't even know his kids' names. And he's Alexander said, there's a big difference, Grump, between this Brown in Sherman and Gruden, Grump. It was all accusations, never convicted. Huge difference, Grump.
I'm going to tell you what, not really. Everyone, there's text evidence of Antonio Brown threatening that masseuse. There's text evidence of it.
And here's the thing.
And he served his time. He served his
I
time.
don't think those are good examples, Grumpy. I think more the ones where you were accused and it was proven settled out of court, like Tyreek Hill beating his pregnant girlfriend and punching his kid there. And he's got the video. It's literally got him admitting to that over the phone. Those are more ones. Here's the thing. If you can play football, they're willing to look past a lot of items. And here it is. The biggest issue with all this is I think there are more underlying issues, and I think there is more information that they are not going to show us because they said, oh, here we go. This is what we found. But there's, I guarantee you, more situations worse than what we saw with Jon Gruden. I can promise you that on these emails. Worse than what you saw from Jon Gruden's emails. And again, Jon Gruden, I mean, you do those actions, you pay the piper, you're fired. Happens.
Right. I'm not saying that. I mean, he paid the price. The personal email thing's a bother for me, though. He wasn't employed by an NFL team. He wasn't even employed by the NFL. I don't know. There's just something wrong about that. But here's the thing. The NFL did this. The NFL did this. This is not some reporter digging this up. The NFL did that. And I got to guarantee they're covering up for something else bigger. That's the problem I have. But here's the thing. The smoke screen, everyone's going, oh, Jon Gruden.
John P. also saying it's the tip of the iceberg for many. You know, that's the biggest thing behind all this. We're just seeing a snippet, and this is going to be like, oh, terrific. Hey, we found something, guys. We did our job. Excellent job, NFL. But in reality, there's so much filth lying underneath that we're never going to find out about because everybody's going to say, oh, we're satisfied, NFL. You did a great job. But I just have that feeling there's more underneath the surface. Again, I've interacted with people like that. And again, you say there's a lot of crazy shit said in football locker rooms. And I can only imagine for those owners, what they say. I can only imagine what some of those people say. It's not only Jon Gruden.
I know. I'm going to tell you flat out. I know football players. I've listened to them talk, professional football players. Believe me. He's not the only one who thinks like that. I'm just flat out telling you, particularly with the homophobic and
not saying it's right.
I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying he's being scapegoated here, and there's a reason why the NFL is scapegoating him. I don't know what it is yet, but I feel we will find out because I think the pressure is going to be on them to release those.
I don't think so. I think they're going to say, oh, we want to I think the NFL is not going to want to release the rest of those emails because there is going to be stuff so deep underneath all of this. That's what I feel. But again, it's going to be interesting to follow. This has been a bombshell of a story, and I think I hope we actually get to find out what's underneath the iceberg. I hope they don't just say, oh, that's the only thing we found throughout our entire investigation out of the 650,000 emails. That's the only thing we found. They will never be able to convince me that that's the case. And maybe that's me putting on my tinfoil hat. I just don't believe that is the only thing in there. I believe it's the tip of the iceberg.
I 100% agree with you. And here's the thing. I don't want to spend too much time on this, honestly, because we have other things because this is going to be an evolving story. But I just did want to touch on it. The NFL is they're not to be trusted.
Yeah, and then John P. saying players, coaches, owners, NFL management, they all have skeletons in
there. They have money. These are people who have so much money they can buy their way out of issues that they get involved in. Those are just facts, boys and girls.
Speaking about some better items here, Sean Taylor going to be put in the Washington football teams. He's going to be put in Washington football teams Hall of Fame there. He's going to have his number retired.
Don't you find the timing of this extremely interesting? And they just announced it today, and now they're getting backlash because they weren't given enough warning. Now, here's the thing. Sean Taylor was a good player. He played 4 years in the league, made 2 Pro Bowls. Good player.
He was an excellent safety for his position. Excellent safety.
Okay, and he was murdered. He was murdered in his home, and years and years ago. Why are they putting him in the Redskin? Why are they
retiring his number now?
Right now, I just find the timing of that extremely interesting as well. I just feel they're trying to cover up. I really feel they're covering up for something.
Yeah, Alexander saying TJ Grump, they should have retired his number years ago. That's great. That's the point, right? If this
No,
this is not, here's the thing with Sean Taylor in his situation. I know Grumpy, he was an excellent player, Sean Taylor. I know he's only for a limited time period. And I think it's a story about how his demise happened. Again, it's a crazy story. It's an awful story too about the murder of an
exactly. But that doesn't make you.
man.
That doesn't make them to retire your number. He only played 4 years in the league, and he was good. He wasn't even all pro. He was a good player. I'm not putting him down as a player, but he only played 4 years in the league. I mean, if they wanted to retire his number, why did they what? How many years has it been? 10, 15 years? I don't even know. It's been a long time. I believe that they're doing it for an ulterior motive. That's all.
I believe they're doing it for an ulterior motive as well. It's been almost 14 years since his murder.
Think about that.
14 years. It took them 14 years to say, you know what? Let's go ahead and put let's retire Sean Taylor's number.
Just think about
what happened this offseason to make them say, yeah, let's retire this number. That's one of those things. You talk about certain players, and again, this is a little bit of a difference. Sam Mills for the Carolina Panthers,
right?
His number was retired. The impact in the story, he had to battle with cancer. He's died, correct? He's Sam Mills.
Yes.
Sam Mills fought cancer. A huge impact on those Carolina Panthers. As soon as he died, it wasn't almost like immediately. They immediately retired his number.
You don't wait 14 years. I'm sorry. Like I said, the more I catch myself, particularly on this podcast with you, I hate the machine that's the NFL. I love the players. I love the action, but the machine itself is disgusting. And I despise it because they don't care about the fans. They absolutely don't care about the players or the fans. They just want to line their own pockets. That's all they're about. And damage control. That's all they care about. And I see something like this, and they're using Sean Taylor as a prop to cover whatever's next to come because something else is going to come out. That much I can guarantee.
They're going to say, don't look over here. Look over here. Sean Taylor's getting his number retired. Look over here, guys. Don't look at all the filth and nastiness. Hey, look right over here, guys.
And here's the thing. I don't know if Dan Snyder has done anything, but let's say, you know what? I'm not going to say because I don't know, but let's say he has. They're going to protect their owners. Without a doubt, they're going to protect their owners. You listen to Jerry Jones talking about it.
Ooh.
Jerry Jones thinks the same way as Jon Gruden. He absolutely does. And he made some valid points, but Jerry Jones, just keep your mouth shut. I mean, you should just do that. The NFL will protect Jerry Jones. He's in the Hall of Fame, right? They love him. He's a sainted owner. They're never going to throw him under the bus. But it's real easy to dump on Jon Gruden. That's the problem I have. And there's other players who have done other things way worse than that, way worse, who've gotten off. Way worse.
Want to talk about, I saw a comment, Grump. I know how much you love Tom Brady. I wanted to pop this up because they're playing here Thursday Night Football. Tom Brady said, I could literally play until I'm 50 or 55 if I wanted to. I don't think I will, obviously, but my physical body won't be a problem. I think it will be, I'm missing too much of life with my family.
Okay. I want to give a little news break to Tom Brady. When you turn 50, shit starts breaking down on you. I remember a lady told me that years ago, probably 20 years ago. She said, oh, I said, yeah, man, I'm feeling great. I'm doing, and she's like, wait till you hit 50. When you hit 50, stuff just starts breaking down. And for me, it was like 51 or 52 when I was like, oh, okay, I can't go to the hole anymore like I used to, drive the basket to the hole anymore.
You ever drive to the hole, Grumpy?
Yes, I could. Absolutely, I could. And now it's so funny because I find that sometimes my balance is a little off. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And I'm just like a couple of weeks to 60. And it's like, thank goodness I have cat quick reflexes still to catch myself. But I was like, man, I could have taken a tumble there. I actually thought that to myself twice this week.
Holy crap, Grumpy old man. He's getting up there. He's
getting the truth. Hey, I tell you what, I tell you everything about myself. I got nothing to hide.
Look at you, grumpy old man. I did see that was funny there. I'm like, I saw that. And again, the guy seems like he's impenetrable. He'll last for eons and eons, but there's always an expiration date. Father Time is undefeated. That is for certain.
Yeah,
Grumpy,
and I'll say one thing about Tom Brady. He is playing just as good as I've ever seen him play this year. He's been
you look at the
fantastic.
stats. The stats in his 40s were better than the stats he had in his 20s.
He's
Or like,
incredible. And it is how he takes care of himself. It's hard. Now, here's the thing. He plays quarterback also, which they protect the quarterback now. It's not like it was in the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s. They don't take the shots they do, but still, for a physical sport like that, and he gets hit every game. I mean, it's like, it's incredible what he's doing. Incredible. My boy, DB12.
Alexander saying 5-3 Carolina, shaking my freaking head. And then John P saying, oh, Carolina 40 shots on goals, the Islanders 8 penalty minutes.
I don't know if we want to talk about. I don't know if we want to talk about
because we're going to talk about the NHL start, but I wanted to pull that up. Yep, Alexander also brings up he benefits from having Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, and Chris Godwin. Absolutely,
without a doubt,
and then Rob Gronkowski too. So no way to skirt or avoid that. That's for certain.
But those guys want to play with him. He has that aura where people want to play with him. That's what New England's learning now. They used to get guys on the cheap to come play for them, and that doesn't happen anymore.
I want to ask you this, Grumpy. Now, I saw this, and I wanted to get you to weigh in here before this week's college football begins. Now, Big Ten, grumpy old man, you can count it, 5 different teams in the top 10. And again, this fan saying Big Ten is the best conference in college football. I want to get you to weigh in. Do you think the Big Ten is the best conference right now in college football?
No. No. They're good this year, but give me Georgia or Alabama anytime. I know Alabama had a stumble last week, but they'll be right back up there. The biggest joke to me is Cincinnati at number 3. I'm sorry. They don't belong. They don't belong.
I don't know.
They do not belong. Iowa.
I think Notre Dame was overhyped to begin the season. I'm seeing them play a lot of close games. Notre Dame's playing a lot of close games, and I'm no Notre Dame fan. So
here's the thing. Iowa at number 2, they were lucky. I mean, jackpot lucky that Clifford went out. Jackpot, because they were not winning that game till he went out just before half. They were not going to beat Penn State. And that was a home game for them. So they will be beaten. I don't know by who, but they will be beaten.
Now, okay, so you've still got the SEC, top-tier talent, the SEC. Now, I want to ask you this weekend, grumpy old man, it's a big battle. Now, this is going to be in Georgia. That being said, Kentucky playing 6-0, playing undefeated Georgia. Grump,
Georgia.
Want you to weigh in. Do you think it's Georgia and landslide?
Georgia's good. Georgia's really good. Kentucky, I mean, they're playing better this year, but they're Kentucky. I don't see them beating. It's in Georgia too?
Yes.
Georgia. No doubt in my mind.
Again, I feel like Georgia, they've been excellent. You look at the run defense, their defense in general this season has been fantastic. It just makes me ponder a little bit, are they the real deal? I think this is going to be one of those tests, right? And I hate to say that because I feel like it's loaded. They kicked the living crap out of Arkansas. They beat the hell out of Auburn. And then other than that, I mean, they did beat Clemson. Was a close game at the very beginning of the season. It was a neutral site game. It was only a 7-point difference. Clemson has looked pedestrian at best. So it makes me, you could say, horrible. I think for Clemson standard, they have been horrible this season, but they've been pedestrian at best. Average.
I didn't say horrible. I said awful. And their quarterback is not ready for prime time.
DJ Uiagalelei,
whatever his name is, the new quarterback.
Uiagalelei, from Clemson.
He's not ready. He's not ready.
You could say the same exact thing about Spencer Rattler before. He's been replaced here by Caleb Williams.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler is another guy who was given everything, silver spoon, and he hasn't lived up to the hype. The second year in a row, he's been benched. To me, you just sit. And the fact that he didn't celebrate with the teammates after the game when the other guy let him back, that's a big red flag. So
I did hear that maybe there was a rumor that Lincoln Riley told him to go right to the locker room because they did not want the press asking him questions and putting him on a spot like that right after the game. So if that's the case, no problem with it at all. I have no idea. There's always some side of the story we don't hear. Was he upset? Did he storm off the field? Maybe. Did Lincoln Riley want to go ahead and shield his player from unwanted media attention after a big moment like that, to where he's probably got emotions flowing high and thinking he maybe lost his starting job? Also may be the case.
Certainly.
But I want, so that very well could be the case. So, not to just paint Spencer Rattler in a bad light. That being said, Georgia football, grumpy old man, you look at it, they've got Kentucky this week. And again, it's a home game. And then they've got Florida next week. Other than that, I think you could say with some confidence that I could see Georgia going undefeated this season if they win against Georgia and Florida, because you're looking at Missouri, you're looking at Tennessee, Charleston Southern, and Georgia Tech. At least for the regular season, I could see them going undefeated.
That Alabama.
They go undefeated in the regular season, even if they play Alabama in the SEC championship game. Even if they lose, they still make the college football playoffs.
Yeah. Who's their coach? Is Kirby, his last name Kirby or first name?
Kirby Smart.
That's it. He somehow managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory sometimes, and that still worries me a little bit. Sometimes it's just Georgia being Georgia. I feel like in the big moments they kind of shrink a little bit, or he gets a little tentative, and it costs them. Let's see if they'll break that hex this year. I wouldn't mind. I'd love to see somebody new win a national championship here. Clemson's out. And honestly, I'd root for Georgia over Alabama at this point in time. I'd root for Oklahoma, of course. I'm an Oklahoma guy. I love them since I was a kid. And so I've always rooted for them, even though they're a different team. They used to run the wishbone. I absolutely love the wishbone with Greg Pruitt and Jack Mildren and, Billy Sims, Joe Washington, David Overstreet, all those guys. Great, great, great. I loved watching that team, and a running team, if you can believe that. But to me, it always comes down to defense for them, and I just don't think they're good enough defensively. But that doesn't mean I won't root for them.
Alexander wanted me to show you this one. He said, Josh Bailey is a complete waste of roster space. Changed my mind. He figured.
Is that true? Is that true? Or that looks like it's made up.
It's edited. So this guy, Steven Crowder, he does these, or he used to before COVID. I think he's done a few since after COVID, but he does these items where he does change my mind, and he has people just randomly come up on him, and he engages them in discourse, and they talk about items. It's always like, a controversial item like abortion is wrong, change my mind, something like that. And everybody goes ahead and crops out this section here, Grumpy, and they'll put something else. And Alexander's put Josh Bailey is a complete waste of space. Of roster space. Changed my mind.
Okay, I have no idea who he is. But when I saw Josh Bailey tonight, I'm sorry. He was his usual invisible self. I'm sure at the end of the game, his stat line will be 0 shots, 0 hits, 0 impact. I have a lot of notes from today's game so far, which I'm sure we're going to save for our Saturday podcast.
Yes, we are, Grumpy. Yeah. Alexander also saying, line swap alert. Parise on with Cizikas and Clutterbuck. Ooh.
Parise looked pretty good today. Clutterbuck looked good. Casey looked a little slow.
John Gabriel Pajot didn't look all that
good. No,
good.
He did not look good. He's not. I wonder if he's still injured. I even said to TJ before the podcast, everyone knows I've not been fans of Brock Nelson, Palmieri, Parise, and they've all played well today. At least what I saw through the first 2 periods.
John P. said, FYI, non-sports news, former President Bill Clinton admitted to UC Irvine Hospital ICU for severe infection. Ooh.
He hasn't looked healthy for a long time, though, if you think about it. He's not looked healthy to me. Hopefully he gets well, but he's looked sickly for a while. Maybe it's being married to Hillary that make anybody sick, but he's not looked healthy. But hopefully he gets over this.
Yeah, hopefully he gets healthy there. You don't wish death on anybody like that.
Hillary could wear you down, though. I'm going to guarantee you that.
Grumpy, not a Hillary fan.
No.
That being said, want to talk. There is now some, before we get to the start of the NHL season, talking about NHL predictions here, possible Stanley Cup winners. A lot of news happening in baseball, a lot to cover here regarding the MLB playoffs too, Grumpy old man. We made a few predictions early on, what we thought maybe that would what that would transpose as who might go ahead and win, Grumpy. Houston has advanced, and they're playing the Boston Red Sox in the ALCS, and then you've got Atlanta, who beat the Milwaukee Brewers, and tonight You have Game 5, the Dodgers against the Giants, Grumpy. Huge game.
Whoever wins the Dodgers and Giants game is going to the World Series to face the Houston Astros. Milwaukee was not ready for the big stage. Excuse me. Not ready for the big stage. I just look at some of the things that these managers are doing following analytics as opposed to, what works in the long run. Pulling pitchers after 2 times through the lineup, regardless of how well they're doing. There was a game that the Red Sox beat in the clinching game. The Red Sox beat Tampa Bay, where their Tampa Bay starting pitcher went into the 3rd inning. He went 12 batter. I think he only threw 12 pitches to get through the first 3 innings, and they yanked him out in the 4th. And I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, it's so dumb. Analytics is ruining Major League Baseball. Ruining it.
You look at tonight. The Dodgers didn't start Julio Urias. They started Corey Knebel, and Corey Knebel pitched 1 inning and then immediately replaced. So I mean, they started a reliever to start the game.
Why?
I honestly have no idea what type of approach they're gonna. Maybe they're just gonna throw out a whole bunch of different pitchers there and hope that maybe they don't have to worry about one guy consistently going through the lineup, then picking up on cues. So maybe they're trying to keep the Giants on edge. I mean, like the Giants rolled out Logan Webb today. So I mean, it's right now 0-0 mid through the 3rd. The middle of the 3rd inning. So it is going to be interesting to see who comes out victorious. Because I do think you're right. Even though the Braves did beat the Brewers, I still think whoever wins between the Dodgers and the Giants are going to beat the Braves. That's for certain. Now, who do you have in the AL? The Red Sox and the Astros.
Houston's just a better team. Houston's a better team. And just like the Giants, I think, won 109 regular season games this year, and the Dodgers 108. They've been the 2 best teams in baseball all year. I'm rooting for the Giants.
Fair enough. Again, I think the Astros beat the Red Sox too. And maybe we're going to have another Astros against the Dodgers World Series. Yeah,
I'm rooting for the Giants. Of the teams left, Giants or Braves. I'm not rooting for the Red Sox as a Yankees fan or the Astros. Just not rooting for them. Sorry.
Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, man.
And I'm not normally a National League fan, but I'm rooting for the National League this year.
Alexander's saying here, how about Rojas out as a Mets manager? And John P. they're saying Dodgers, Giants 0-0 in the 3rd. Buccaneers up 21-7 over the Eagles.
My boy,
I told you. I said last podcast, the Buccaneers, it is going to get freaking ugly. I told you Thursday night game, a shortened time period for coaching staffs to get ready for their next opponent. And the Eagles, the youngest coaching staff in all of football, are going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That end score is going to be something like 42-14, maybe 49-14. They are going to steamroll the Eagles in the second half. You're really going to see the Buccaneers put the pedal to the metal.
I'm just going to say one thing. Richard Sherman went out today with a hamstring injury too. So the laundry list of injuries to the Buccaneer defense continues. They're now missing their top 4 corner. Well, I guess Jamal Dean came back. So they're missing 3 of their top 4 cornerbacks, and they were missing Levante David, which is a huge loss for them.
Move along, Grumpy. Move along from your Buccaneers talk.
Okay, here you go, cutting me off again. You bring the thing up, I try to comment, you cut me off. That's fine.
Grumpy. Thanks. Okay, Grump. All I was saying was a quick statement. I wanted to talk a little bit here about the Mets. Now, Javier Baez, Grumpy. Obviously, Pete Alonso important to bring back. Francisco Lindor is there. Now, Javier Baez, it seems to be splitting Mets fans over whether they need to bring Javier Baez back. I want to get your initial reaction on it, Grump.
So Javier Baez wants to come back. After the ripping, the fans thing, how do you bring him back? How do you? I know fans have short memories. He hits a couple of home runs. He steals a couple of bases, a couple of game-winning RBIs. He's back in the good graces. But is that the type of guy you want representing your team?
Well, the reason why is, again, you're right. Fans do have short memories. And here's the thing. The production he had there for the Mets in the 47 games he played, he hit 299, had 9 homers, 22 RBIs, 32 runs, and 5 stolen bases. So, when you're talking about, hey, how did the production look for Javier Baez? He played damn well for the Mets. That is for certain.
Yeah, but he's got a big hole in his bat. He strikes out an awful lot. An awful lot. But I guess that's the way Major League Baseball is going. What are Alonso's numbers? Do you have those? I'm just interested because he strikes me as another all or nothing guy. I like Lindor. I've always liked Lindor. He did not have a great year for the Mets this year. He picked it up towards the end, but he hasn't been actually the last 2 years. He hasn't been as good. I think his last really good year.
Well, they said Francisco Lindor had changed his approach and changed his swing, which really negatively impacted him. Regarding Pete Alonso, this year had a little bit of bounce back from that shortened COVID season. He hit 262 this year, 37 homers, 94 RBIs, and 81 runs. I mean, you want to talk about that's a stark difference from his rookie season when he had 53 home runs, 120 RBIs, and 103 runs. So again, the power numbers were down from that rookie season. That's for certain for Alonso. And Francisco Lindor, a guy, again, who, first year joining the Mets, hits 230 with 20 homers, 63 RBIs, and 73 runs. So again, 230, not great for your shortstop.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, Pete Alonso, they've learned how to pitch to him a little bit more this year. And he strikes out. You can't have guys who just strike. I don't know. I guess I'm really old school. Put the ball in play. I don't want to see. I remember if you struck out 100 times in a year, it was like, oh man, this guy should be sent to the minors with 100 strikeouts. Everybody strikes out 150, 160 times a year. That's the mentality from, the analytics geeks who figure, well, you know what? Launch angle. So we're just trying to hit home runs. So that's why you have over a third, like almost a third of every at bat is strikeout, home run, walk. It's why Major League Baseball. And I do enjoy the playoffs, but watching the regular season is like interminable. It's almost impossible to watch.
Yeah, I bet. So you really got to be a big baseball.
I used to love watching the Mets play.
All 162 games. Loved it.
Yeah. And the Yankees. I watched both teams when I was a kid growing up. I remember Lindsey Nelson and Bob Murphy and Ralph Kiner. And, on the Yankee side, it was, Phil Rizzuto, Bill White, Frank Messer. I mean, it was just great. I mean, it's just different now. It's just not as good. I'm sorry. The game's just better. I'm sorry.
Michael B said Islanders game 1 and the season's over. They ended with a 6-3 loss here tonight.
Oh, that's impressive. Well, but honestly,
an empty netter and they gave up one there on the power play also. Grump.
What I saw tonight was what concerned me: the Carolina Hurricanes team speed and the aggression on the forecheck. And that's what beat us tonight. At least the first two periods. They were just dominant. They're better than us.
We'll save a lot of Islanders talk too for the podcast on Saturday evening. Again, we're going to go live after the Islanders game, so we don't want to talk too much Islanders. But yeah, I tell you, Chara looks slow. I mean, he got walked around by Nino Niederreiter. Nino doesn't have fantastic skating abilities either, so expect to see Chara getting walked around quite an awful lot this season, which we told everybody was going to be something. But hey. So Chara, he's going to be able to fit into this system. A-okay.
I thought Andy Green was terrible tonight through the first two periods. You wonder if age has caught up with him.
Yeah, I mean, he just kept getting beat down low. And
well, that's his role, is playing down low. That's his role. So if you can't do that, I don't know what to tell you. Svechnikov looked really, really good for them.
And I think he also had an overtime or the empty net goal. Alexander also said, would you rather have Correa or Baez?
Correa, I like Correa, but he's hurt all the time. Baez has had some injury issues as well. I think the Yankees might be going after Correa. I mean, here's the thing. If the Mets like him, what he showed, regardless of what he did to the fans, they'll probably bring him back. How do you get along with the clubhouse?
Correa is coming off of, I would say this is probably the best year he's had in his career. You talk about Correa. I mean, most home runs he's had there was 26 home runs, 92 RBIs, very respectable, 104 runs. I mean, that's the most runs he's ever scored in a season by like 22 runs. And he wound up hitting 279. So, I mean, Correa had a really, really good bounce back season this year.
Yeah. But he's always hurt. Let's be honest. He's always hurt. But here's the thing. If he has a big postseason, I guarantee the Mets won't be going after him. He'll be priced out of what they want to spend. The Mets, for a big market team, and they portray themselves as not a big market team, which is a joke in itself. They don't spend big bucks on free agents, really. Not since Bobby Bonilla.
Well, I mean, they do so every once in a while, Grump. It's not all.
They're not the Yankees. They're not the Yankees.
John P. said Bias does strike out a lot, and so does the polar bear, Pete Alonso.
Yeah. And even Lindor struck out a lot this year, which was surprising for me.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't think his batting average was that high this year.
Yeah, 262. John P. also said Dave King Kong Kingman, the strikeout king, but he could definitely jack it when he connected.
I don't think he ever struck out 175 times in a year. He struck out a lot. And that's what they said, man, all or nothing with Kingman. He maybe struck out 130 times. I don't remember his numbers. It was so long ago, and I didn't do any research on that tonight. I wasn't expecting his name to come up. But
he did. He did, Grumpy. He did lead the MLB 3 seasons in strikeouts. Did have a few seasons with 150 plus, and then a few with 130 plus. So he definitely had quite a few strikeouts.
I didn't remember the 150. I want to say 137 is some number that just sticking in my head for some reason.
He had 156, 153, 140. He had 143 all across the board.
Yeah, he struck out a lot. He did. He'd fit in perfect with today's Major League Baseball. Perfect.
Oh, man.
He could hit the ball a mile, too. First baseman.
Alexander also saying here, Correa is younger and more disciplined.
Yeah. I'm just worried about the injuries. That's all.
And then John P. said Green and Mayfield -3 tonight. Chara +1. 16 minutes and 21 seconds of ice time.
I mean, like I said, Chara, he was lucky on that one play where they scored the goal. That he didn't get a penalty, honestly.
Well, no, they called the penalty, but they did wind up scoring.
Okay, I didn't realize they called the penalty, but the goal waved it off. I didn't realize they actually called the penalty because he certainly deserved one on that.
Yeah. What a film saying, hey, guys, it's a great time for the year for sports. I like the Dodgers tonight.
Oh, my boy, Woulda. Love him. Love you, Woulda.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, the Dodgers, I know Grumpy's pulling for those Giants.
I'm rooting for the Giants. Got to say I'm rooting for the Giants. Sorry, Woulda.
Hey, I'm hoping for entertaining baseball. I mean, as a spectator, I don't have any dog in the fight on that. I love just some entertaining baseball. Hopefully, some extra innings to add a little bit of extra, a little bit of extra fire on top of that. A little more nerves there. That's for certain, Grumpy old man. Yeah. Also wanted to talk about Mike Schilt, Grumpy old man. Mike Schilt, manager there for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Not anymore. He's not.
Been let go by the Cardinals, or old manager for the Cardinals, Grumpy.
Yeah, I remember when he came in to replace Mike Matheny. He was a third base coach, and I'm just finding the time. They say it's philosophical differences. I don't even know what that means.
I couldn't tell you.
They were vague, really vague about it, and the Cardinals played the best that they have in quite a while this year, particularly down the stretch. I know they lost the playoff game against the Dodgers, but I mean, that game was close. And
the funny thing is, let's look at it like this. If the Dodgers win the World Series and they win, I mean, okay, you lost to the World Series winner. You just happen to play them, in the playoff game.
For me, I don't know if it's, once again, the analytics geeks who, no one goes 3 times through the order. I mean, if your pitchers are good enough, you roll with them. I'm sorry. Have some feel for the game. And like I said, I did not follow them, but I know that they won a boatload of games down the stretch, even to make the playoffs.
Well, you look at the last 4 managers that the Cardinals have had, dating all the way back to Joe Torre, Tony La Russa, and then
Joe Torre. No, there was a lot of years that Whitey Herzog, I think, was managing after Torre. I don't. Here's the thing. There's a big gap.
These are permanent managers here. You look at
no, there's not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, these are the last 4 managers. Is how it says. So I mean, you look at that. I mean, Mike Schilt had. I mean, the winning percentage, technically the highest winning percentage of any of those coaches. But it's odd. I think it's because they said, oh, okay, we made it to the National League Championship Series, 3 years ago, and the last 2 years we haven't made it past that. I think the wild card or like the play-in game. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of you. We need more postseason success, right? We brought in our Nolan Arenado this offseason. We thought that was going to bring us over the hump. It didn't, so they say, all right, time to get rid of you.
Yeah, like I said, if you asked me who Mike Schilt was yesterday, I couldn't have told you because, honestly, I didn't remember who the manager of the Cardinals was. But, yeah, I just found the firing really interesting. You see him get fired, and then you see Aaron Boone. Somehow it seems like he's going to survive this offseason, but all the other coaches are going to be let go. Aaron Boone is the problem.
And it's
not the other coaches.
source says, despite the coaching staff's moves today, right? Thames gone, and going to be more coaches there from the Yankees gone. The Yankees are still undecided as of this moment on Aaron Boone's fate. Part of the equation may be whether he wants to stick with the coaching staff the Yankees are going to dictate to him.
He will. Whatever they tell him to do, he's going to do. He's one of those. Here's the thing. I don't think he's got a bone in his body, honestly. Whatever they say, he'll do. That much I firmly believe. He's unimpressive. I'm going to say if George Steinbrenner was alive today, Aaron Boone would be on the streets. He would have been on the streets long ago. He's not been very good.
John P. said, any guesses as to the Mets general manager coach? So many names and nothing concrete's been thrown out there.
Way too early. They're going to wait until after the World Series. I think they're going to see what else is going on before they make any decision.
Alexander saying Mike Schilt should be number one on the top of the Mets list for manager. Billy Beane would run the Mets.
Ugh, Billy Beane. Okay, do you really want one of those analytics geeks running the Mets?
I'm sorry, Brad Pitt will run the Mets.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say.
Billy Beane was drafted by the Mets. I think he was a number 5 pick in the draft way back. He just wasn't good enough as a player, and he's managed to parlay his time. He spent a lot of time in the minors, and good for him. I don't begrudge him that. But guess what? He's never won anything in Oakland. Never. All the years he's been there, he's never won anything. Maybe division title, but they've never gone anywhere in the playoffs. Is that what you want for the Mets? I don't know. I want to win championships. That's what I'm about, championships.
Oh,
not, hey, we're competitive.
Grumpy. Oh boy, can I not wait for this Saturday's podcast. That being said, What a Film said, that's okay, Grumpy. Webb's pitching great. He's fun to watch and worth cheering for. My daughter is a Dodgers fan, so I've got to cheer for him. LOL. And I'll tell you, you talk about a great time to be a Dodgers fan. I know, again, in 2017 and 18, they weren't able to win, the World Series. And, last year, 2020, they finally pulled through. You're looking at a team, I think if they win, this year, if they were able to win a World Series, you're looking at a possibility of, one of the most dominant teams during that time period.
Yeah, without a doubt. They're loaded. Now, here's the thing. I had Webb on my undefeated championship fantasy baseball team this year, and he did not disappoint at all. And I just want to say one other thing to Woodha. I know there were I know you were a little bit upset a couple of weeks ago. There, you had a picture up there with you and a young lady, and I think I upset you somehow. And I looked at the picture and I thought, I didn't know if that was your wife, or I certainly didn't think it was your daughter, because you look way too young to have a daughter that old.
You've aged much better than the grumpy old man.
Oh, for certain. I mean, and if I hurt your feelings, that was never my intent. I just want to let you know that I didn't think you looked old enough to have a daughter that old. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but she looked like she was way close. Maybe she was 10 years younger than you. I mean, 15.
Would have aged like a champ.
He has. I mean, hey, better than me. That's for certain.
Now, Grumpy, I want to talk a little bit about the start to the NHL season. Grump, NHL officially started this Tuesday. Going to be a lot of action. It's going to be, I think, a wild and crazy year. Real quick, we got a few comments before we jump into it. Alexander said, that's how the Mets got Tim Tuffle. Tuffle. I'm sorry, Grump. Give me a break.
Here's the thing. I knew you were going to butcher that name.
That's why I was waiting. I was hoping you're going to read it. John P. also said, how about Brewers David Stern to the Mets administration?
I don't know. Is he available? I remember David Stearns was a catcher for the Mets in the Wayback Machine. It's so funny. I mean, I remember these guys as players, and now they're all managing teams or being administration for years. Makes me feel old.
You are old, Grumpy. That's why you're. Yeah, that's why you're the Grumpy Old. That's one of those names there in it, man. Alexander said Bean was traded there for Tim Tuffle, Pat Crosby, Tuffle, and Pat Crosby, and minor league player.
Yeah, and
what can I say? Tuffle was before my time period, Grumpy.
Tim Tuffle played an intricate part on the 1986 championship team, second base.
Alexander also said Carlos Beltran as the Mets manager.
They did that, and they cut him loose before. You look at what Boston did with Cora, right? He took a year off, and then they bring him back. Look where they are. Cora is a fantastic manager, by the way, and I think Beltran would have been too. The Mets worried about perception, of course, but that's what the Mets are about. So, and I don't know if Beltran would have made a great manager, but he was certainly a good bench coach or working with Houston. But he got caught up in the cheating thing, and they just cut him loose. I don't know.
It's an odd one. I want to talk about predictions for this year's NHL season, Grumpy. It's underway. I want to know who is your favorite as of right now today to win the Stanley Cup. You want to talk about a way long out there prediction, Grumpy. Who do you have as your favorite to win the Cup?
Colorado Avalanche. I still think they need to make a couple of moves in season, but right now they're my favorite. And look out for Vegas too. Vegas battle tested.
You want to talk about, oh my goodness, you want to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning right now down 6-4 against the Detroit Red Wings. Tyler Bertuzzi 4 goals tonight for the Red Wings. Goodness.
I told Tampa Bay's not winning Stanley Cup this year. I think you're going to just winning back to back is tough, and they lost a whole line worth of players. I don't think that's a difference when you're giving up 6 goals a game like they did to Pittsburgh and Detroit tonight. I mean, I think they'll right the ship, and I think they should probably win division, but it'll be close.
It's early yet. And again, the Atlantic division we talked about is a freaking tough and stout division. That being said, I think those teams are going to beat the living crap out of each other during the regular season. And during, that first section of the playoff, those teams are going to beat the hell out of each other. I think if we're talking about favorites to win the Cup, I think, the Colorado Avalanche are the league's darling. Everybody's putting on the Colorado Avalanche. Hey, they're going to finally take the next step forward. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I don't anticipate the same success we saw last year, for the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, I just don't see it. I don't want, just for the sake of not picking the same team as you, Grumpy, because I would probably go the
Carolina Hurricanes, right?
No, I would not say the Carolina Hurricanes. I mean, they look good tonight. I'm not saying the Carolina Hurricanes.
They're good.
I'm going to say the Vegas Golden Knights.
Okay.
I'm going to say again, because you talk about the playoffs, they're a team that has a lot of playoff experience. And if you look at their division, not necessarily the strongest division in all of hockey. So, you talk about, an easier road there to the Western Conference Finals. And then if it's NHL playoffs, anything could happen. If you're not facing the Avalanche, maybe you're facing a hot goalie. But again, Vegas is physical. Vegas has a lot of experience. Those things do start to add up when you start getting deep into those playoff runs.
Yeah, and they had a little extra against Colorado last year. Colorado needs, and I don't know exactly what they did in the offseason, but they need a little bit more grit, because if you shut down the first line, you can stop them. That first line is phenomenal, but if you can shut them down, you're going to have a way better chance of success to beat them.
Absolutely. John P. said Stearns is 36-year-old Harvard graduate. He is currently president of the Brewers baseball operations.
John Stearns was the catcher for the Mets, not David Stearns. Here's the thing. Absolutely no to him. I don't want one of these 36-year-old Harvard graduates who they believe 1-2 times through the lineup. I don't care if the pitcher's got a perfect game going. He's only thrown, 50 pitches. He's coming out. No. I do not want one of those analytics geeks in charge of the Mets. I don't want it.
Alexander saying, my boy, who's a Panthers fan, thinks that they're Cup contenders. I told him he was crazy.
Watch out for Carolina. Watch out for Florida. Watch out for Florida. They could surprise this year.
They did beat the Pittsburgh Penguins in overtime today. I think the Panthers are poised. I think they can make the playoffs. And again, the Atlantic division is just so tough. I don't envision come playoff time there being a lot of sweeps or 5-game series in that division. I think there are going to be a lot of hard-fought games in that division.
They have the best coach in the NHL, in my opinion, in Joel Quenneville. And you've seen them turn it around in the last 2 years. I think he's been there a year and a half. So you've seen them turn it around, and they're all young enough. Their core is a little bit older than the Islanders core when they first started their series of runs before they won, but they've been in that system for a long time now. Barkov signed an extension. The only guy they sacrificed in recent years, they sacrificed Bukestad and Vinny Trocheck, but They're a really, really good team. Losing Aaron Ekblad last year, when he was not available in the playoffs, really hurt them.
I mean, he had 2 goals tonight for certain. John P said 81 games to go. No NHL predictions yet. A long season.
Okay, well, you got to make predictions at the beginning of the year, John,
just
so you can
way too early predictions.
Well, I'm just saying this way you can hold it over our heads when we're wrong on everything. And I enjoy that, honestly, to see how wrong I was.
Oh, man. Woulda Film said, thanks, Grumpy. It's just a little misunderstanding. Both you guys are part of my family. Appreciate that, Woulda. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize you were – I think I mentioned to TJ to tell you that I certainly like I said, you look freaking great. That's why I asked the question. You look great. The girl looked too young for you, but certainly I never thought she was your daughter. That's for certain. Because you look great. He looks fantastic. He looks like he's 30 years old.
And then Alexander said, and they trade away Jonathan Marchessault. I'll tell you now. Go ahead, Grum.
I thought they lost Marchessault in the expansion draft, and they traded for Riley Smith. Vegas. I thought Vegas picked up Marchessault, which I was surprised they even exposed him. Vegas picked up Marchessault in the expansion draft, and then they traded for Riley Smith, also of Florida. But he only had one good year and before the expansion draft. So maybe that's why they felt he couldn't replicate that. They were wrong.
Well, I'll tell you, right? Jonathan Marchessault, you're right. He's a guy, you talk about a late bloomer. Jonathan Marchessault, I mean, he did have the 1 year in Vegas, but it wasn't, or in Florida, it wasn't until, though, he was 26 years old. I mean, since Vegas, he's been a guy that's been close to a point a game type of caliber player. You know, he's averaging about, in an 82 game season, you're looking at a guy who's a consistent 70-point producer every single year.
Yeah. I tell you what, he has surprised a lot of people. He burst onto the scene late, and he's had staying power. Good for him. Good for him. I'm glad he got the contract he got. I'm rooting for everybody to make money. Let's make money.
Let's make money. To Vegas, through the expansion draft. And then John P said, LOL, I wouldn't do that to either of you guys.
No, you should. You should, because if I screw, here's the thing. Think about my hot takes that didn't work. I said Anders Lee, boy, what a mistake putting as the first goal of the year. What a mistake me putting my eggs in that average basket.
He did score a goal, but
he did score a goal.
Matt Barzal with the first goal of the year.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Grumpy. Absolutely. I know we talked about a lot, Grumpy, and I know there's going to be a lot here for this Sunday's podcast at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But, Grump, before we wrap things up today, what else you have to say, Grumpy?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. And we're going to be on Saturday, post-game after we play the Florida Panthers. Watch out. I'm worried about that game, too. What will be the level of anxiety in Islanders Kingdom? I know we don't have an island, whatever our
Islanders Nation. What will be?
There you go. Whatever we call it.
Islanders Nation. If we start off and let's say we lose, we start off and lose in an unconvincing fashion after the way we lost tonight to Carolina, I can only imagine. Hey, people will start to. There will be some worries around. Here's the thing: we said, what is a good road record for this 13-game road trip? 7-5-1 would be excellent. We'll see how it goes. It's tough when you get off to a bad start and you have 13 road games to start the season. Never a good way to start the year, that's for certain, Grump.
And I just want to say Florida is another team with us. They're a fast team with an aggressive forecheck. Just like Carolina, they're going to give us problems as well. And we'll talk about all that on Saturday. We'll recap tonight's game. Short recap for tonight's game, what I saw, who I was impressed with, who I didn't think played well, and then we'll dive right into Florida.
Alexander also saying, are you guys having a call-in Saturday night? Yep, we're having call-in features Saturday evening. Back to the call-ins. Yep. That for certain we are. There's going to be some stuff.
And I'm going to break out the scissors. I think I'm going to have to talk some people off the ledge. I feel like I'm going to have to. I hope not, but I feel like I'm going to have to talk some people off the ledge.
You know they're in trouble when you're talking them off the ledge.
Yes. But I'm here for everybody. You know that. I just tell the truth.
John P. sent us a link. I won't be able to pull it up now, but why did the New York Islanders win the Stanley Cup?
It's if all the other teams in the league don't play.
Oh, stop.
Well, the big teams. I just don't think.
Alexander's saying I might not have a voice after Saturday. What a film saying. Love you guys. See you Saturday after a win, I hope. Hopefully.
We all hope so.
And I want to say, number one, thank you, Grumpy Old Man. And thank you everybody who participate in the live stream. Again, we always love the interaction we have with it. And this podcast we do is just shooting the shit, having a good old time, talking sports. That is for certain. And again, to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. Oh, we also have news. Hey, I know we're bringing up this news right at the end of the podcast. We had a business meeting, but we're going to be getting it to where this podcast is also going to be offered there on the podcasting platform. So Apple, it's going to be offered on Spotify, Google Podcasts, everywhere you listen to your podcast. Now this will also have a podcast, associated with it. So if you don't like watching the videos, or if you're in a rush, you're low on battery, you can also listen to the podcast format as well.
Which is not great if we have like the fan fights. I have to say, you got to almost watch the video. So
I was about to say, maybe you're gonna have to jump from one platform to watch the fan fight on YouTube. But I like the fan fights on Sunday evenings.
Yeah, but for today, you don't need to look at my ugly face anyway, and TJ's balding head. That's not necessary. So.
Oh man. Well, thanks, Grump, guys. And thank you again for tuning in, everybody. Thank you, Grump. We'll see you this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully I'll be on time, 8 p.m. ish, as Grumpy says.
Yeah.
We'll see you, though, around or near 8 o'clock. Thank you again, Grumpy. And thank you, everybody who listened to the podcast and live stream here today.